Scientific Christian Mental Practice by Emma Curtis Hopkins. Chapter 8, Rending the Veil. The 8th lesson in science is, be not deceived. These are the words of Jesus. Spirit never deceives. Matter is the only deceiver. Matter makes up all appearances. Matter is formulated, as you know, by thoughts concerning a kind of God who never existed. The two friends of Job described one kind of God, and Job described another. Their kind of God was full of punishments for exactly the sort of character they described Job to be. Therefore, in the fullness of time, they reaped the fruits of their ideas, for Job insisted that he was not that character, and they must have imagined it in the peculiar wisdom of their hearts. Thus it is with all of us. We look upon others in the red or green or blue tints of our own ideas, and see them entirely different from what they are in reality. Then exactly what we describe as their character, which is not the truth about them, must be our own type of mind in some of its ways. Then, when we get the punishments we have felt honestly belong to them, we are utterly astonished and grieved, and feel much abused. This explains why the righteous are strangely afflicted. They see more faults in mankind than any other class of people. Thus the 8th lesson is, be not deceived, either in man or God, for man and God in truth are good. In appearance they may seem evil. In the Bhagavad Gita, the sacred book of Buddhism, we are told that the Spirit of God saith, whoever undiluted knows me as the Supreme Spirit worships me in all forms. In other words, letting forms remain, opposing nothing, but nowise deceived, recognizes me in all people and in all things. This is another way of saying that spirit is the only substance. Thus man is spirit. If man, or all, is spirit, then I am spirit. If spirit cannot be in poverty, I cannot be in poverty. If spirit cannot be burdened, I cannot be burdened. If spirit cannot be sick, I cannot be sick. All these are nothing to spirit. Therefore they are nothing to me. I am not deceived by any of them. This is the only religion which will work practically with the mind and bring out the external forms in new combinations. It is a religion which teaches us to be grateful to Spirit for all the good that comes to us, and appreciate that all the evil that comes is by reason of our having imagined something against man or God, or the universe, which could not be possible at all. We worship Spirit in all forms, and let forms alone. We do not try to change them. They change themselves by our thoughts of Spirit. There is a law of setting aside appearances by truth. We learn truth, and we are masters of the law. Moses said the same thing in more symbolic language. Let there be a light in the firmament. He not only means the sun, moon, and stars of the skies, but he means the thoughts that made them. Do not be deceived by your imaginations. Live by principle. The reasoning based upon pure principle is like sunlight to the mind and life. We soon learn to know the meaning of all things. We know exactly what to do. So let the reasoning based upon a good, true premise guide your life. As imaginations arise, let them alone. The simple knowledge that they are imaginations is sufficient to make them null and void. Imaginations deal with evil, matter, death, sickness, poverty, old age, pain, failure, and other burdens and bondages of the race. Truth does not deal with them. It leaves them alone. We, being in truth, also leave imaginations alone. By this lesson you will see that you do not have to try to make your truth work. You know it. You know the truth that makes you free. You speak it, and it is its own working principle. John the Revelator says the eighth stone is the beryl in the foundation of mind. The beryl is the stone which stands for a written record. When a form changes by reason of our truth, we have written a record in it. All who see it will see that we have put our seal there. Many a case of sickness would come out for more enduring health if we would write our treatments and read them over and over by ourselves. One man who could not feel any illumination from spiritual teachings became highly inspired after he began to write down the science. It will be well for you to write out the treatments as much as you can. If new ideas come to you, put them down. They show that your mind is brightening by its own light. There is nothing so gratifying to a teacher of science as to see the radiance of his students' minds breaking forth. When they seize the truth for themselves, love it, and reason out each item of their lives by it, and see that no other reasoning has illuminating power, they are the true light in the firmament. When many such minds are utterly wedded to pure doctrine, it is promised that there shall be neither moon nor sun in any material heavens. When we love our reasonings, we are in the light. When we listen to the opinions of man, or side with our imaginations, we strike our darkness at once. Then our intellect is our light. It takes its premise. Those are its stars. If intellect believes God is far off, then the stars, which are suns, will be far away. Of course, there are other meanings to this text, but I will give you one which is good to remember. Let there be light means let reasoning based on truth be your light of the sun. Let imagination stand where your right reasonings put them. Eternal reasoning is eternal day. Night with its stars symbolizes the rest which mind takes at certain stages of its reasoning. There are halting places in mental action. Then we speak nothing, think nothing, do nothing. We have spoken truth. We have many symbols of these halting places of the mind. There is the Sabbath. There is the halting place between childhood and youth, between middle age and old age. All these are to cease when we understand that they are symbols. Their substance is to be plain to us. We see now how a sick, deformed body will change its looks to robust beauty. But even in robust beauty, as we now see it, we are not beholding the possibilities of beauty and health at their fullest. People have as much more beauty and health and vigor belonging to them as the difference between deformity and the marvelous beauty of Hypatia. For between the night with its moons and the day with its sunshine is the difference between what we now see and the real beauty of people and things. Eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither hath it entered into the heart of man to conceive, that God hath prepared for them that love him. To love is to see God in all. This sight or this love puts out evil. So of intelligence. Even the greatest minds tell how limited they feel their knowledge to be. They also tell how ignorant and incompetent they feel to solve the problem of life. But such is not the way those feel who are in the light of reasoning, based upon the first principle that God is wisdom. For understanding absolute is in them, and is in all things also, informing them of high truth. Whenever man tells of his ignorance, he is speaking of the formulations of his imagination. The lesson would say, let that which is light indeed be your light, or let truth be your words, truth of spirit and truth of matter. It is true that matter is ignorant. It knows nothing. Are you spirit or matter? Tell the truth about it. Reason it out well. People have gotten mixed up with old delusions. They think they must look forward to old age. This is getting crystallized into the future. They think of a history and matter. This is getting crystallized into the past. This lesson about the light, it is about freedom. On the material plane, light is the freest process of nature. You cannot bottle it up. It will shed itself to the furthest that its nature tells it to. If you hide it under a bushel, it burns the bushel and makes a greater light than ever. If you hide it in iron vaults, it heats things red hot and melts and destroys them. While it lasts, you may hide it behind some screen, but you cannot quench it by confinement. So of the eternal, unquenchable light of the reasoning based on the truth that there is one God, above you all and through you all, and in you all. It cannot be spoken without shedding its light through the next statement of science. And once it is set streaming through the mind, we must speak and think and write and live the doctrine. The doctrine is a fire, an unquenchable light. It is not like the symbol which can be put out. It is like the truth itself, eternal, indestructible. It is along the way somewhere that you get on fire with the Holy Spirit, so that you live the doctrine. If you do not catch the fire the first time along the pathway of the science, go over the statements again and again. The race is not always to the swift. Come, and let us reason together, saith the Lord. The righteous shall shine like the sun. Be not deceived. Great doctrines have been looked into by thoughtful men, and they have turned about and seen how differently appearances work from principle, first uttered. This has caused them to be silent concerning truth, and much exercise about the effects of truth, which they have called laws. As for instance, if one becomes spiritually minded, he loses his taste for certain kinds of food. Seeing this, the Zoroastrians proclaim that all men should abstain from these foods. They mistook an effect for a cause. They tried for a long age of time to prove that fasting from food would make people spiritual. It never did, for material actions are not the cause of spirit. The reverse is the way of the law. That is, according to the way of the spirit of man, so will his outer actions be. Men banded themselves together, saying that they would neither eat nor drink until they had killed Paul. Such was the outcome of the teachings of fasting. There is the same idea in the use of words. We speak certain words after we become spiritual. Therefore it is said that speaking those words would make us spiritual. The effect is confounded with the cause again. In the case of words which the Spirit uses, we cease to undergo the sufferings which call more and more attention to the physical body. Fasters are very exercised over their physical feelings, and thus are as material-minded as gluttons. The same with people who beat their bodies, or freeze them, or otherwise abuse them. Their whole mind being given to their bodies, they are even more material occupied than people who please their bodies with warm clothing and fresh and beautiful adornings, and have freedom from pain of all kinds. In the case of using words, we find there is nothing at all in great truths to call attention to material things. The words, as we speak them, are given forth as the utterance of the Spirit of life within us. All point to the Spirit, and go forth from the Spirit. We see them by their mysterious ways, attending to the externals. So we obey both the Bhagavad Gita and Jesus, and take no thought about what we eat, drink, or wear as to whether it is wise to wear more or less. Paul very often became much exercised in his mind over material things. At one moment it was meat, and at another it was the length of man's hair and woman's hair. These subjects are not in the mind of a spiritually minded man. He lets them alone. The man who is thinking righteously will be immaculately neat in his dress and about his person, but it will be the natural, unpremeditated movement of that immaculate spirit he is thinking about. He will be very honorable in his dealings with men and women, but it will not be because of his thinking all the time about his duties to them. He will perform his duties because his mind is set on right principles. These are the lights of Moses, the works of a man and the thoughts of a man. Jesus Christ called works signs, which is the same as lights. They tell where a man stands in spirituality, he said. Working to bring to pass anything is evidence of mind being on material things. For when we are spiritual, we are not trying to bring great things to pass, yet they come to pass. The lofty reasonings of science are the sunshine of the Spirit. They are the works of truth. Truth is in us. Let it shine. Truth performs great tasks. Let it shine on miracles of health, cheering, enlightening the nations. Discussing symbols is getting mixed up in and identified with what we think and talk about. A young man was treating a lady against coughing so much. While he was treating her, he told her a great many good reasons why her cough was not real, but all the time her cough troubled him. He was eager to help her. She kept on coughing for 6 weeks, to his dismay. One day he said the cough was nothing to him. She might cough all she liked. From that day she never coughed again. He had struck the 8th lesson. Let forms remain. They are nothing to us. Such an attitude toward the world of matter is the quickest way to get rid of its abnormal and ugly appearances. Those appearances feed and grow fat on our feeling badly about them, and talking and thinking about them as something that can hurt or disturb us. Notice that the cough was not cured until he gave up thinking it was his burden to cure her. He let the Spirit tell the truth about it. Then both himself and the woman were free. Spirit never mourns over robberies, nor over deaths, nor over pain and crying. They are nothing to Spirit. He who suddenly realizes any sort or kind of evil as nothing at all has touched the second treatment of environing conditions, whether people or things are his burden. This feeling in its genuineness comes generally by denying the seeming and affirming the real. It opens the eyes to see purely from a spiritual standpoint. There is a great power of clear sight that comes by setting yourself free from thoughts about lustful passions and sensual appetites. Next, you feel that evil is nothing whatever to you, and if you do not feel that it is nothing to you, the way of the Spirit is your way of meeting appearances. By this, I mean that Spirit or divine intelligence has one way of looking at the universe and all things in it. That way is to know the good only. There is nothing else to intelligence. That which sees evil is no intelligence at all. If we should let intelligence speak, we must speak as intelligence does. If our patient with any kind of malady comes the second time to us, we have received statements of evil against somebody or something, as to their not seeming to be bad, but hiding badness. This is a question of deception. If anybody or anything appears good, it is our pleasure to believe it is genuine goodness. Do not allow yourself to believe that a man or woman or child or an object hides evil but appears good. For if you do, they will not come the second time, saying in joyful affirmation, I am entirely cured. You are being deceived by thinking either things or people are deceptive. Whether it is affairs of business or in sickness, do not believe that there are lustful passions and sensual appetites lurking back of appearances, or that good appearances are hiding bad conditions. And do not believe that there is something wrong with the business, even though it appears to be successful and flourishing. All that looks well is making a heroic fight to be God's good way in your eyes. Believe in it. Speak kindly of it. The first strength of mind is the strength to endure. This is purity, which is long life. A good man may seem to be very frail, but he will live on and on, where others, more robust-looking, would falter, because goodness is a substance in man which endures. We get this by never accusing of unclean or sensual nature. The second strength is the strength of youth, the strength of fearlessness. It comes to you by always believing everything is good which seems good, and that everyone is good who seems good. Do not think tobacco hides a poison. Do not think rum hides a sting. Do not think that anyone who is kind to you, or whom you love or respect or enjoy the society of, or who looks kind or good, is bad, no matter who tells you so, or what interior feeling you have that they are. Let your conscious thoughts and words be according to the good. This will give you a young and fearless look in the face, and keep your vigor. Childhood and youth never believe in bad where good seems to be. A very childlike man in Massachusetts was told by some men, who were making fun of him but seemed kind and wise, to send warming pans to the torrid zone. He did so, and made a fortune. His simple acceptance of their kindness was a success to him. He could not have been made to believe that such kindly-seeming men were trying to deceive him. You will find that anyone who is full of certainty that what seems good is good has a young look. Old age comes from not refusing to be deceived. Youth is kept by refusing to believe evil of people or things. Not believing in evil takes out the sting of what seemed to be evil. The character which holds its own steadily is a successful character. A certain lawyer wanted to take a boy to train who would succeed him in his law practice. He took away to test the tenacity of the assembled boys in holding a point until it was brought out satisfactorily. He told a thrilling story of a prize rabbit, which was in a barn which caught fire. Many and varied incidents took place at that fire. Amusing speeches were made, and every boy forgot the rabbit except one keen-eyed boy over in the corner. What became of the rabbit, he asked. Nothing diverted his mind from the main idea of the story. You are my boy, said the lawyer, and dismissed all the others. In healing your patients, your mind must be kept to its first intentions. Whatever comes up to divert your thoughts, go back again and again to your purpose. If you have determined to set anything right by mental action, let nothing turn you from it. You can train your mind so that even while you chat and laugh about various matters, it is running along like a mighty river within you, singing great truths of science. If you are by seeming accident of circumstances put where it seems impossible to carry out your honorable duties, and you will keep your mind on them, without saying much but not being diverted from your original intention, all will be fulfilled. Fretting is being diverted. Crying is being diverted. Where there's a will, there's a way to cure your case, and to straighten out your affairs in the science of mind. Even your dreams tell you the state of your mind. Everything that happens tells you the state of your mind and how you stand toward your premise. Being diverted from a purpose is being deceived. It is getting mixed with things and people when you want to be clear and light. A certain lady always cures her patients by looking steadfastly at a beautiful Madonna which hangs in her room. She talks to it as if it were the living patient, expressed in that buoyant young womanhood. Nothing turns her mind away. If it seems to do so, she talks very fast, as thinking quickly compels her to be attentive. Jonah kept his mind on the memory of how Jerusalem looked while he was shut up in the whale. It acted as a rope to draw him out into freedom. Great Trakes, the Irishman, never let his popularity at houses of prominent people make him forget to attend to his healing. He finally was turned out of favor because he would cure animals as well as people by his healing powers, and out of loving kindness. In shutting him away, they shut away their own health. But he did what he felt was his duty before God, regardless of the favor of the rich or great. This steadfastness is being true to principle. Pericles would walk on only one street in Athens. He never dined out socially. He gave his time, his life, his attention to his study of right government. Therefore he is handed down as the wise governor of Athens. Michelangelo said, "Art is a jealous god. It requires the whole and entire time." He shut himself away from everybody while painting the Sistine Chapel. Newton was of no marvelous mind, and one of those who had been his early companions asked him how he succeeded so astonishingly. "By intending my mind," he said. "Upon entering the land of true thinking, I can call your attention to this high principle of action." Nothing will return satisfaction like the knowledge of God. Nothing widens and beautifies character like a trained mind. Nothing trains the mind like the daily reiteration of noble propositions, of good and truth. Mind is not quickened and satisfied by the study of music or mathematics. It is apt to give way under the pressure of years, but the study of spirit brightens the mind as the years roll on. Healing by pure reasoning is healing by an ever-increasing energy. Healing by pure reasoning is far better than healing by keeping in mind the face of the Madonna. Is not that a material picture? Still, we are not to condemn any practice, you must remember. We are not to speak ill of anything which has brought ease from pain or weariness to mankind. It is good. It is good to show us its best side. In the Catholic Church it was said at one time that nothing is evil which brings forth good, but that led to their doing very cruel things, hoping to bring about good results. In science there is no cruel pathway to some future good. There is no real advantage in surgery. Nobody ever gets wounded to help someone else. The angels of mercy and goodness fly ahead of the true scientist and keep his pathway free from hurts. In science there is no call to be brave, because there is nothing to fear. It is a sign of having stood true to principle if we come out of the lion's jaws safely. It is a sign that we have been steadily true if we never get into the lion's jaws or sore afflictions. So it is not a signal that we have been absolutely true to our principle if our patient comes to us a second time without the perfect cure. It is a sign that we can cure him, however. For if we had entirely yielded to being deceived, he could not have come. Keep on with your reasonable doctrine in his presence. If he tells of evil symptoms, like pain, or if he tells of what happened to him, like restlessness or unhappiness, do not think you need to believe it. Many a case has been cured by mentally saying no, while people were talking of their ills. At any rate, it is nothing, from beginning to end. As it is to spirit, so it should be to you. It is nothing.